tuned into Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank, serving the greater Lowell Savings Bank. Unicare, offering a variety of plans for people insured under the GIC. At Unicare, your health is their top priority. Boston North Company, offering a wide variety of business solutions to help restaurant and retail clients save money. Boston North. Mahoney Oil Company, providing warmth and protection to families in Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. That's Mahoney Oil. Francis E. Prevention Insurance for auto, home, business, and life. Trust the agency Greater Lowell has counted on for more than 40 years. Francis E. Prevention Insurance. Go Puff. A grocery store right at your fingertips. Use the code LOWELL20 to receive $20 off your first order of $21 plus free delivery. Download the Go Puff app or visit gopuff.com today. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Songa Center in Lowell. Get your tickets today by visiting masspirates.com. And now, time for another Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast. I am your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the Inside Lowell studios here in beautiful, historic downtown Lowell. Today, we're going to introduce you to one of the 3 declared candidates for Middlesex North Register of Deeds. He's actually the first candidate from outside of Lowell. We had former Lowell Mayor, current City Councilor Sokari Chow declare, Karen Casella, who ran for the seat as an independent in 28. She has declared, both on the Democratic side. And a few weeks ago, we got word that a well-known name from the town of Chelmsford, which we also cover here under our hashtag Inside Chelmsford banner, is going to be running as well. So we're going to introduce you to him in just a quick second. Just want to thank all of our sponsors. You heard a bunch of them there who helped make this podcast, all of our Inside Lowell podcasts, and for that matter, all of Inside Lowell possible. And of course, I want to thank all of the sponsors who are also on our website as well. Mostly local businesses, almost all local businesses, even the ones that have a national footprint, have local branches here in the greater Lowell area. So we encourage you to support them as they support us, and they also support local media, which is quite important. So with that, I turn my attention to and bring in my special guest here today on this Thursday, January 25th, if I have the date correct. He is Joe Reddy, a very well-known realtor in the town of Chelmsford, very active politically, holding a couple of town seats, also running a campaign for Board of Selectmen, and like I aspire to be, a media personality, hosting Town Talk on Chelmsford. Did I get that right?
Yeah, Town
Talk on
absolutely. Chelmsford
Access Television and my former stomping grounds, 980 WCAP. So, hey, Joe, welcome to the broadcast here.
Well, thank you for having me, Teddy. I really appreciate being on Inside Lowell. This is a great opportunity for me to showcase who I am as a candidate for the Register of Deeds position here for the Middlesex North. Again, I am Joe Reddy. I live in Chelmsford, and I am a real estate broker. I was the former owner of Reddy Real Estate. That was in existence since 2010. This summer, I sold it to Shannon Anderson, who has both a Chelmsford and Lowell-based office, and she owns Century 21 Your Way. This gave me an opportunity to really step back and have the opportunity to actually run for this position and really dedicate my time. So I'm excited about the opportunity. I think I bring a very unique blend of experience to the position and something that people may not have seen in the past. So this has been a position that I've been passionate about since I've been a young man. And I think at this point in my career, I have all of the attributes to really be able to lead the registry, both technology-wise and also customer service into the future. So I'm excited about that and looking forward to making this run. Moving forward, obviously the register is a role that not many people know about. The position is now open Many people may know Dick Howe Jr., who is the current register. He's going to be retiring. And so this is an open seat that I will be looking to fill first in the September primary as I'm running as a Democrat, and then ultimately in the general election come in November.
I think you're sitting in the wrong seat. You should be coming over here into my seat, because you've already answered kind of my first two questions and delved into number three. But okay, so you told us who you are.
Yes.
And you kind of got a little bit into why you're running. You said you've been a position that you've been kind of keeping an eye on since you were a kid. Obviously, a career in real estate. You've had many interactions with the registry. Why now? Why 2024 to run for this office?
So most people have asked me, you say you're interested in running for the Register of Deeds, even passionate about it since you were a young man. Now, specifically because I have all the skills and attributes, the leadership abilities, and the experience to lead the registry into the future. But let me step back as to why a person at such a young age would be interested in the registry. I had the unique opportunity when I was younger to work under the great Paul Sullivan. And Paul Sullivan was big in the Lowell Sun realm. I did an internship with Paul Sullivan. I also did a radio internship with Paul Sullivan. I one time ate his bagel and he got super upset about that. I didn't think that was going to be a big deal, but it was. But his right-hand person was Tony Accardi. And Tony Accardi was the assistant registrar of deeds in Lowell. And so, interfacing with Paul and interfacing with Tony took me through a tour of the entire registry at like 16 years old, got kind of like the back end understanding of it. I later then went on to go work for attorney, recording deeds and mortgages for them as a summer internship. And what I found is, and as a real estate broker, many closings happen at the beginning and end of months. Okay. So I would, as an intern, be kind of sitting around in the middle of the month without a whole lot of like courier and recording work. So they'd be trying to get me like some data entry work in the interim. That kind of brought a vision to me for when I graduated high school to say, I'm going to start my very first company. And it was called Horizon Mortgage Recordings. And what I did was I went to many attorneys in the greater Lowell area, and I said to them, if you have any sort of instruments that you want to record at the registry, I will do it for you. Most attorneys at that time were charging anywhere between $150 and $250 an hour. It's a lot easier to send a knowledgeable person such as myself to the registry with these documents to record them at a much more effective price for their clients. So I would collect up all the documents, and then I would just stand in line for hours, getting back in line, recording more documents. So I had an opportunity to interface with Suffolk County Registry. I had an opportunity to interface with the Northern Middlesex County, all registries across the state, Worcester. They all had different processes. They all had different customer service levels that they would provide. I also learned that people make mistakes. Attorneys might miss some sort of information on a deed or some sort of instrument that they're recording. The registry would kick it back. I'd have to go back, get that information. So I started to learn a lot about what's important within these documents. Later in my career, that business would become obsolete because of Dick Howe Jr., basically creating the advent of e-recording. And so when we talk about the greatness of Dick Howe Jr. and what he did for the registry, if you go back to 1994, which is when I think he originally won the seat, there was no e-recording at that point. Everything was in books sitting in the registry. You'd have to go search it out. So that was really new technology. And at the same time, I then went off to Suffolk Law School. I got a full-time job coming out of high school with the registrar's office at Suffolk Law School. And I worked there doing customer service and taking care of, files and documents and transcripts and things of that nature. It was a great job. I worked there full-time. As part of being a full-time employee, I was able to go to Suffolk Law School for free each semester. So I was able to do my entire undergraduate degree for free within a 4.5-year span and gain valuable full-time working experience. I was then about a year and a half later actually promoted to the admissions office, where I was responsible for implementing their online applications. Because at that time, very similar to the registry, things were just sent in by mail, right? So now all of a sudden we're bringing in data integration. We're trying to bring things into the future. And you also face a lot of people that don't want to see that technology improve. They're so used to, I only trust the paper, right? And you know what, honestly, at that time things were new and sometimes things would get missed. So you'd have to go in manually and update whatever didn't translate from a data import or whatnot. So after I graduated from Suffolk University Sawyer School of Management, I got a degree in business entrepreneurship specifically because I have a passion in creating things. I like to take a vision from a seed and make it into something. And I've had an entire career of doing that, which has made me, just appreciate what it takes to really take processes, build them, and make them efficient. So after I left Suffolk Law School, I basically went off to run for city council in the city of Boston because I lived there at the time. And I had an opportunity to meet so many unique people. Mayor Menino, Maura Hennigan was actually running against Mayor Menino at that time. And so I went stomping around. But one of the people that I ran into was a gentleman by the name of Mickey Roach. And he was the former Boston police commissioner, and he had become the Register of Deeds for Suffolk County. And everyone said, you got to meet him if you want to win city council. He's got all the connections. So I went and sat down with Mickey Roach in his office at the Registry. And I was actually more interested in talking to him about the Registry at that time. I didn't really like Mickey, to be honest with you. What I didn't like about Mickey was Mickey felt that job was more about him being a dignitary. And he said to me, Joe, I'm just here as a dignitary. I won this job, but the people in the office don't really want me to get involved because I'll just monkey everything up. But I did talk about my connections to Lowell. And he said, you know what? You have a young upstart, Dick Howe Jr. over in the Lowell Registry, and he's doing phenomenal things with technology. And he's creating all these online ability to record documents. But you know what? That's not happening under my watch. That'll be for the next register to deal with, right? And I thought to myself, wow, so there really is two classifications of registers in this world, right? There's a proactive, I'm going to get at it and I'm going to make change and I'm going to help the general public, have better access. And then there's I just want to hold this title because I was an elected official other places and now I want to, just ride off into the sunset. That's not me. I was taken back by that situation and said, wow, there really are two different people. So that was another instance into the registrar's office. I then went off to basically, do staffing and a number of other opportunities. But then in 2008 and 9, I went and worked at Harvard Law School. When I was at Harvard Law School, I ran their entire career services department under the assistant dean of career services. And I would put together the largest interview programs in the world. All right. I would have 500 employers flying into our campus to come interview, 500 students. You'd have 25,000 interviews going off within a 5-day period. I'd rent out an entire hotel for 5 straight days. The logistical aspects of that job were immense, and there was no room for error. I did a phenomenal job. Just recently, I reached out to the assistant dean. I said, you know what, it'd be really nice if I could get a testimonial from you. He said, you know what, you were the greatest hire I ever had. Now, the problem was when I walked into his office in 2008, I went there because the economy had dropped and, there really was nobody doing staffing or hiring, right? So I went there and I said to him, I'm only going to be here a couple of years and then I'm going off to do something entrepreneurial. I don't know what it is yet. He said to me, well, why is that? This is Harvard Law School. I said, you know what? Harvard Law School is great, but it's going to be great the day I get here. It's going to be great the day I leave. And no one's ever going to remember the contributions that I made to this organization during that time period. I really want to go and put my stamp on something. So I was doing real estate part-time at that time. It just got to be too much doing both that role and my part-time real estate role. That's when I launched Ready Real Estate. My folks have been in real estate in the greater Lowell area for many, many years. People don't know this, but I actually started Ready Real Estate. I said to my dad, I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. He had talked about possibly doing something like this when I was younger, but he never really wanted to run and own a brokerage. I said, you know what, I'm willing to take on that task. I really want that responsibility. And I enjoyed building systems. I enjoyed building processes, and I enjoyed recruiting and growing agents and making them into successful agents. As a matter of fact, the treasurer of my campaign, Lisa Pantuso, is a phenomenal realtor, one of the best in the greater Lowell. I personally trained her. She is just, I guess, an example of what I can do as a leader in this community. So, over the last 13 years, I've had that opportunity, but I am what I consider as a real estate broker, a super user of the registry. A lot of times when I meet with clients, they will, say to me, I want to list a piece of land. What is the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to go to the Registry of Deeds. I'm going to look up the deed and make sure that they have proper title to this land in order to convey it to somebody else. I'm not going to just, I'll take you at your word when you call me, but trust but verify, right? So that's what the registry does for me. If you've ever been on the registry website, there's a lot of information on there.
I can never find what I'm looking for on the few occasions I've gone. I don't know how there's got to be a secret to it that all you insiders know, right?
Right. I think there's part of it is understanding how land and title is conveyed. And so with the registry, you have, probably, 4 different boxes, I'll call them. You've got recorded land, which is what everybody really thinks about when they're doing real estate. And that's, harks back to the days of England, and, land is passed by deed from one person to another with meets and bounds and all of that. There's also registered land. Registered land is defined by the court. And so ultimately, you can be searching for a deed in recorded land, but it's actually in registered land, right? So it's understanding where you need to find the information. But the general public shouldn't be put into that position, to be honest with you. With today's technology and the way that AI has developed, the search engine for the registry should be so much more robust. And I know that you had posted, and thank you for announcing, my candidacy on InsideLowell. And I did notice someone had made a comment, everybody gives praise to, Dick Howe Jr. and the great things that he did. That praise is for all of the systems that were implemented before, back from 1994 till now. But there are major sweeping changes that do need to be made to the registry, specifically in search functionality. I'll give you an example. I am the treasurer of the Russell Mill Swim and Tennis Club. The other day, I went to go search for a specific document. Well, the Russell Mill Swim and Tennis Club back in 1994 was known as the South Chelmsford Rod and Gun Club. So if you go to search for this, it's actually under like S Chelmsford Rod and Gun. And sometimes it could be under and, sometimes it might be under the and symbol, right? So if you get one of those characters wrong, you're missing out on information that might exist for a particular deed or mortgage or easement or some sort of instrument that's been recorded.
So I think you've given us a kind of an understanding of what the general public through their real estate agents or attorneys do with the registry. Take me inside. What does the registry, that office itself, and in particular the Register of Deeds, the office that you're running for, what do they do? What is their number one responsibility? Records keeping, if I'm understanding it correctly?
Yeah, so, the Middlesex, so for instance, the registries are usually county-based, all right? So we actually have 2 registries in the Middlesex County. You have the Middlesex North, Middlesex South, okay? The Middlesex North encompasses 10 communities, right? You have Lowell being the center of it. Then you've got Tingsboro, Dunstable, Dracut, Tewksbury, Wilmington, Chelmsford, Billerica, Westford, and Carlisle. And so these communities make up the Middlesex North Registry. So anybody that is conveying title or needs to record some sort of instrument would go to the Register of Deeds. The office itself is records keeping, environment for these documents, but it's got so much more value than just that. One of the things it also does is it's a revenue generating and collecting agency. So when you buy or sell property, there is a thing called stamp tax, and stamp tax adds up. It's usually $4.56 per thousand. And so if you're buying a $500,000 house, you're going to have to pay a pretty hefty stamp tax. The registry is going to collect that. They're going to collect recording fees. So they actually generate revenue for the state, and they collect revenue for the state. In addition to that, they're also the protector of your title. So Franklin Roosevelt, and I won't put the quote exactly, but he says that real estate's one of the greatest investments because it cannot be lost or stolen, and that you can't just walk away with it. And the reason for that is the Register of Deeds. Your title and interest in whatever part of this property is protected by its public recording of these documents. So it provides so many benefits for people that are looking to do any sort of estate planning, protect their real estate interests or just their investments. Especially people that own or occupy properties. One of the biggest vehicles is what we call a homestead. Many people don't know about this, but you can protect against certain creditors with a homestead protection. The homestead should be recorded. They do have an automatic homestead based on Mass General Law 188 that gives you like $125,000. That's to protect any sort of like deposits or something you have in the property. But you can actually record up to $500,000 if it's your primary residence, so that, should something happen, maybe you get into a motor vehicle accident, you cause some sort of injury and somebody sues you, you lose a judgment. They don't want to see you be homeless. That's the entire, premise behind the Homestead Act, right?
I thought that was to create political controversy in Lowell to determine where somebody lives if they're running for office.
Yeah, maybe.
That's the last time anybody heard about it. But so it's interesting to me. The three candidates currently declared, you, Sokari Chow, and Karen Casella, she works in the office. Sokari's a realtor. You're a realtor, but you're also an attorney. Dick Howe Jr. I'm
not an attorney.
You went to, you're not, okay.
No, I worked in law schools. I've worked for many of attorneys.
I thought you went to Suffolk Law School. You worked there, okay. What's the ideal background for that? Dick Howe did the job and by all accounts did it well with a background as an attorney. Is it more law-based, what the day-to-day job of the register is, or is it more real estate and understanding all these things you talked about, deeds and property lines and whatnot and homesteads?
I think it's a mixture of all of these things. One of the reasons why I was always so effective in certain environments, Suffolk Law School, Harvard Law School, is I am a person that gets things done. You come up with a vision. I don't get caught in the minutia of, the smallest little details. Those can be worked out. It's about having a bigger vision and being able to kind of move the ball across the goal line. And in this particular case where, you have a huge technology piece that needs to be implemented into the registry, that it doesn't matter whether you're an attorney or a real estate broker, or maybe you're even a tech person. That might be a good background. It's the ability to work, and understand how to implement these things. That I think is first and foremost the key. Secondly, customer service is a big piece of it. For many attorneys, they used to go to the registry and, for instance, they would do a rundown on title last minute just to make sure something wasn't recorded. If you go to the registry today, there's no computer for them to do that. That's something that I would implement just as a courtesy to attorneys that are coming in, actually still recording something in person. It does happen from time to time, especially like plans and things of that nature. So, from my background, I look at it from this perspective. I've been the person that's been the front desk coordinator. I know what it's like to intake documents and to deal with the general public. I've been somebody that has implemented systems at Harvard Law School, at Suffolk Law School. I implemented back-end systems and created all of that. But I've also been an entrepreneur and somebody that says, here's a really good idea. How are we going to make this happen? And if you've ever been in any working environment, the second you come up with an idea, the people that work in that environment are like, oh, that's just more work for us. It takes a strong leader to say, listen, I truly believe in this vision. I really want to get your buy-in and I want to make this awesome, because you have to look at it from the end user standpoint. And that's the major component that I bring to this job is I've been the end user. So I know what's not working correctly. I know where it's lacking, right? These are things that are important to the community because, listen, not everybody interfaces with the registry. Mostly attorneys, mostly real estate brokers, mostly inside Lowell sleuths that are looking to find out if you have a primary residence, right? But those particular entities are actually very important to serving the general public with the knowledge that they find and bring to people. So I want to make it easier for those entities to then serve the general public the way they need to serve them. It just goes hand in hand in my mind.
All right, we're chatting with Joe Reddy, candidate for Middlesex North Registry of Deeds, one of 3 declared Democrats in the race. We'll chat with the other 2, and if any new ones jump in, they're certainly welcome to join us. As we say, everybody, it's funny, everybody who gets in the race praises Dick Howe for his years there. 20, it'll be exactly, it'll be 30 years when he's done this term. They talk about modernizing the registry, and yet you did the same. You were effusive in your statement that you released when we broke the news about you running, and yet, as I've been listening here, you're saying that there's things that weren't done. He did the legwork. He was behind the legwork for modernizing everything, getting it on computers, bringing it into the digital age. Let's take that example that you gave, the Chelmsford Swim Club that was formerly the Rod and Gun Club, or whatever. So, how does that not get changed once they change their name? So it's easy to find and do basically what you have to do when you get in there. You and your staff have to go back through all the records and make sure everything is up to date. The same way, I guess, kind of when Dick went in there in his office, had to take all those things that were on paper and just literally type them one at a time into a computer. Do you have to check these things one at a time and make sure that they're listed in the name they're operating under today?
Yeah. So, anybody that's a title examiner will tell you, you basically go in. The information's there. They'll give you what they call references. So it'll reference to another document. So what you're doing is basically going backwards in time and looking at, who had the title to this particular, deed, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the things that's interesting is people think of, deeds and titles as the same, but they are a little bit different. Okay. Your title is really whatever ownership piece you have in a property. So the only way to describe this best is think of it like a bundle of sticks, right? What sticks do you own that you can convey to somebody else, right? So you may have given a stick away as part of your deed. It might be some sort of easement or something that now that person holds a stick, right? So when you're going back and doing these searches, you're really looking at, okay, who has, this ownership interest, or who has, some sort of, debt or mortgage on this particular component. But just to digress, your original question was, Dick Howe Jr. did a good job. Yeah, I think Dick did a great job for what it was in 1994 to what it is today. But technology has changed. And the only way I can describe this is, think about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Both considered the greatest of all time. But it actually took Tom Brady leaving and going to Tampa Bay, I think, to catapult a new zest in his life to go try to win another championship. His last throw in New England was a pick six into the end zone, right? So you're going, he looked dried up at that point, truthfully. But he goes to Tampa Bay and he goes, man, I'm all reinvigorated, right? I feel like same thing with Bill Belichick. He's going to probably go to Atlanta, and all of a sudden, all of the things that he ever wanted to do in New England and just kind of got tired, he's going to try to reinvigorate that, right? And maybe that'll be successful. The same thing with Dick. You've been doing it for so long, you kind of just, you forget, oh, okay, I got to really keep pushing the envelope. And that's why it's always good to bring new people into the fold. Matter of fact, it's good to bring people that haven't been in the registry into the fold, because they bring a whole new perspective. I hear candidates all the time I bring a fresh perspective. This truly is somebody that's an end user coming in saying, okay, from an end user standpoint, I want to make this happen. I also recognize that there's probably challenges on the back end. There's probably trying to integrate legacy data into some sort of new system might be a total nightmare. I'm not saying that there isn't going to be some challenges working from point A to point B, but for the progression of society, for trying to help the greater Lowell area be one of the best, I think we can do it. All right. So
what are some of those directions that you want to take it, and some of those things you want to do to invigorate the office?
Well, I'll give you a specific example. So, the registry is a protectionary service in some respects, right? But it doesn't go far enough. And one of the things it needs is a consumer notification system. And my opponents say, oh, there's already a consumer notification system. There is. It's just completely dysfunctional, and it needs to be completely upgraded at this point. All right. So as an example, if you go on, what you can do is say, I am Joe Reddy. I live at 58 Bartlett Street in Chelmsford. That's my home address. I want to make sure that I know anything that gets recorded against my property. That would be very important for you. You go on, you enter your name. Now, it's actually kind of run by the Secretary of State, so I'd have to reach out to William Galvin and say, we need to work together and make this happen. But it connects in with the registry, and it should, in theory, if somebody records something against my property, notify me that this has happened. This is 2024. When I go on and I put my name in, it doesn't send me an email saying you've properly put your name into the system. It doesn't give you that authorization. It also doesn't, what it should do is you put your name in and say, this is my property. I want to know about anything that gets recorded. It should then spit you back, say an email or something that says, okay, here are the last 5 documents that were recorded against this property, just so that you know that you're connected to the right property. Like I said, what if you think you're trying to connect yourself to Russell Mill, but you needed to be really connected to South Chelmsford Rod and Gun, right? You don't know until somebody's actually sent you some feedback to tell you that you're connected. So I might think that I'm protected right now. Somebody might record something, but maybe I made a small error in the address name, right? And now I'm not getting the notification. So that's not good for consumers, right? Some of it's an educational piece, and that's where I think Dick Howe Jr. was instrumental, and he was a leader in that realm. If you go on to lowelldeeds.com, the number of blogs that he's written on various different topics all have very good information. But it does take a constant, vigilant person to get out there, provide these seminars, go to senior centers, talk about homestead, go to various community organizations and talk about what they can do to protect themselves. Whenever I sell real estate, I always tell my buyers, you're going to get something in the mail. It's going to be a company, and they're going to send you this notification that says, you need your deed. We're going to send it to you. Send us a check for $110, and we'll send you a copy of it. They can go online to the registry and get their deed for free. So is it like a fraud or a scam? I guess not really. The Secretary of State kind of puts it best. It's just an inflated price that you really shouldn't be paying. But that takes an educational standpoint to go out there and say, we need to notify the public that they have access to their deed. They can get this information for free. That's what we provide as a service. And people forget about that. That's why I think bringing this race is going to be awesome. For anybody that never knew what a Register of Deeds does, I'm going to make sure they know by the end.
I was just going to say, it sounds like you've been preparing for this job your whole life, because I think we forget the Joe Reddy launches campaign. We can just retitle this, what exactly does the Register of Deeds do? But it certainly sounds like you've put a lot of thought into this.
And again, this is not something that I woke up one morning, I was like, hey, that sounds like an interesting job. This has been a passion for me. And hopefully that comes through to people that are watching this, that I really do care about how this office is run, how we can make it better for the general public, how we can make it better for the super users that are using it so that they can better service the general public. And I didn't mention this, but one of the things I really liked about Dick Howe Jr., this is why, listen, give the guy his praise. He's done a good job, okay? But I always loved that Dick Howe called himself an historian, because the registry really is that. It is, you can go all the way back into the annals of time if you search back on a deed and find the original owner. So my Uncle Bernie, big into historic preservation and being part of the Historic Commission. And a lot of these homes that we save them not just because of the age of the house, but more importantly, because of the characters that lived in those homes. So you can go back all the way to John Adams and say, wow, John Adams was the owner by instrument of this house, and therefore making it very historic to our area, right? So these are all components that all come together, to make the registry such a special place that needs to be, celebrated.
So now you've piqued my curiosity, because I'm told the current home that I live in, which has had a number of additions on it, but at one time was farmland that controlled a bunch of surrounding properties, and eventually all were kind of sold off. So now I got to go back and look at my own history. I just have to figure out how to use that damn website.
Right.
What do I need? Do I just need the deed number, and then I can trace everything back?
Yeah. So in each document, like if you go into the deed, they should reference back to the following deed, but you might have to go back 10, 12, 15 documents. Best to take a piece of paper or an Excel spreadsheet, and say, okay, original owner, Teddy Panos, second owner, John Smith, and just keep going backwards. And then you record the book and page in which the document is recorded in. And ultimately you can work backwards. But just to bring up one more quick thing, right, that just came to my mind was that consumer notification system, because people are like, well, I'm not too worried that somebody's going to go try to record a deed against my property. It's not just that. If you ever had your mortgage sold from one company to another, and they send you this thing now send me the checks over here. How do you know that that's legitimate? Well, they're going to do an assignment at the Registry of Deeds, taking over the mortgage from one company to another. It'd be nice to get an official, notification from the Northern Middlesex Registry of Deeds that says, hey, this just got recorded, and now this mortgage company is saying that they now own your mortgage.
So isn't there actually a scam out there? Some people, some nefarious people actually going out and kind of taking over people's properties. Is that related to what you're talking about now?
I want to be very clear. I don't think there's widespread scams as far as the registry goes, especially because it's very easy to kind of work backwards and say, okay, this document isn't right. But it is important timing-wise that you get to Superior Court should something happen with your property. I mean, time is of the essence. So, should some fraud or something occur on your property, you want to know about it immediately. You don't want to find out 15, 20 years later when you go to sell the property that all of a sudden there's some sort of cloud or something that's happened. It could even just be you're in a dispute with a roofer and they go and record a mechanics lien, you don't know about it, then 10 years later you go to sell the property and maybe they moved on or they passed away and now you can't get this resolved. I've had old mortgages, they're only worth $100, but they were owned by Baybank, and then Baybank became Shawmut Bank, and Shawmut Bank became Bank of America or whatever it was, right? Bank Boston. You want to make sure that you resolve these things with your property before they become a major issue for you later on down the road. So.
All right. So anybody who wants to learn more about your campaign, that's always my final question. Just watch this podcast again, and I think we got it all in. But if folks want to learn more, if they want to see the issues that you're going to focus on and where you're going from here with your candidacy, how do they find out?
Yeah. So again, I'm Joe Reddy. You can go to votejoereddy.com, spelled traditionally READY. You can also go to readyfordeeds.com if that's also easier for you. And on there, I'll have information about how you can get involved, how you can learn more about the registry, and ultimately, be a part of our campaign. So I'm excited. If you live in any of the 10 communities that surround Lowell, then you are eligible to vote in this upcoming election. If you're a Democrat specifically, as we're going to be having the primary on September 3rd, I ask you for your vote, and ask anybody that's unenrolled for the same thing. Would you please, vote for me for Register of Deeds this September?
So not one, but two websites. You have your social media pages set up yet? This being 2024?
So go to Facebook, Vote Joe Reddy, and you'll be able to find my information there as well. So, Teddy, I can't thank you enough for giving me the platform, to talk about something I've been so passionate about, for so long.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on in. If depending on how large or small the field ends up being, maybe we can even get you all in here to have a debate.
A debate would be awesome.
All right. Thank you. Joe Reddy, candidate for Middlesex North Registry of Deeds. We want to thank him for joining us. Want to thank you for joining us as well. As we like to say, inside Lowell, if Lowell is your home, this is your place. And it goes for Chelmsford and Drake, and I guess all of Middlesex County as well, especially with today's podcast. Till next time, stay safe, everybody.